Hello and welcome to Faithfully Stampin' with Jennifer Helm. I am Jennifer Helm, the Faithful Stamper, and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! I have for you today a fun fold card. I've kind of been on a roll with fun folds. I found a stash of swaps from an event I went to some time ago and pulled them all out and pulled all the ones that I wanted to show you the technique to make. So this is another one that I knew just needed to be shared. So this is what I'm calling the Twist Flap Fun Fold. Whoever made the beautiful swap that I'll show you a little bit later did not give themselves credit. There was no name on the swap. And I don't know what the technique was called, so I'm calling it the Twist Flap Fun Fold because the front of the card actually has a flap that twists as you open it. So it's a little different than your typical card with that twist aspect, but it's not a complicated twist. So I'll go ahead and show you how to make it. The first thing you will need is a cardstock panel that is 5 1/4 by 4. No, I'm sorry. Ooh, 4 1/4 by 11. I'm so used to rattling off numbers. 4 1/4 by 11. So the 11-inch side, we're gonna score down the middle at 5 1/2. So what I'm going to do is fold on that score line, and then I always double check to see if one of the edges might be a little longer than the other. Sometimes your paper isn't exactly even. And so once I've determined which one I want to use for the front, I'm going to get my bone folder ready because I am going to be brave and just fold this myself. I tried scoring it. It did not come out well, so I am going to fold instead. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bottom corner and I'm going to fold it so the edge is even with this top of the card. And I'm going to turn it kind of diagonal so I can see what I'm doing a little bit better. So what I like to do is kind of put my fingernail right at the corner and almost crease it a little bit and then start bending my paper over, line it up along the side, and then hold it nice and tight. I run my finger across here down to the bottom, and then I'm going to use my bone folder and smooth up to the corner. This one's not quite perfect, but that's okay. By the time I get the front layers on, you won't even notice. But see, this is how the fold works. I tried doing a score line from here to the corner, and it didn't want to fold right. So it was better just to do it myself. Okay, that's the hard part, ladies and gents, right there. So let's start decorating the front. First, we're going to take a 4-inch square of Lost Lagoon. All my layers are done in Lost Lagoon, my initial layers, I guess I'll say. So this 4-inch square, we're going to adhere to the front of the card. You can use your favorite adhesive, nothing specific required, but you don't want to put glue all over the back of the square, because then you'll glue the card shut. So you want to stick to putting your glue on this triangle. Now, it will fill up most of the space. You can see where that flap is here when I lift it up. So you have a lot of room to put your adhesive. I find it easier to put the glue here where I can see it rather than try to figure out half of the back of the square. I usually have enough problems so I don't need to tempt fate. And so once I've got that adhesive on there, I can just give this a press. And there we go. All right, so now let's do some decorating. I have pulled my paper from the Thoughtful Journeys 6x6 paper pack. So this is actually 2 halves of the same piece of paper. You can kind of see the overlay here. I just used the top of one sheet and the bottom of another to give you some variety. Both beautiful pieces though. So this is 3 1/2-inch square, and I'm going to stamp directly on this. And for my stamp set tonight, I'm using the new online exclusive called Prairie Grass. This one jumped out at me as soon as I saw it. I'm a sucker for silhouette stamps, especially ones like this. There's 3 beautiful ones in the stamp set. I haven't used this one yet, but I'm going to use the 2 smaller ones tonight. And there's some lovely verbiage for either kind of a get well card or a sympathy card in here as well, or even just being supportive. Sometimes life is just hard. And then for the inside sentiment, I'm going to use With Sympathy from the Unbounded Love set. This is also where my die cut is going to come from for the front of the card. This has been a favorite for me lately. And I used this die that has the beautiful stitching detail on it. Actually, no, I didn't. Oh, I know where it came from. I lied. I was using this one and I changed my mind. I used the Nested Essentials. I'm dangerous on a Monday. There we go. Nested Essentials. Beautiful essential shapes, great for any kind of stamping or scrapbooking. All right, now let's get it back on track. So, showed you the stamp set. We're going to stamp in Pretty Peacock ink, at least to start. So, I'm going to take what I'm calling the medium stamp from the set that has the cattails. And I'm not sure if it's just me, but this stamp wants to pick up a lot of ink. Of course, I said that, and I didn't pick up nearly as much ink up. But just keep an eye on your stamps. Remember, don't give them CPR. Press gently. You're not trying to give them chest compressions. I have some ladies I know that try to push the stamp all the way through the table. You don't have to do that. Light pressure. Don't rock the stamp. And there we go. I almost wish I'd done that a little darker, but that's okay. Now I know for the future, if I want to make more of these, Pretty Peacock is beautiful on this one, but it doesn't get swallowed up, but it could have, maybe Night of Navy would have been better to do that one with. Okay, now, to the 3.5 inch square, I'm going to layer on a 3 5/8 of an inch square. I could put any of these panels on dimensionals. I have chosen, with my persnickety glue, to keep everything flat. And that is just because the card itself wants to have a little dimension because of that flap aspect. And so I don't want to make it super thick and need extra postage. There's a narrow border around this one from the 3.5 to the 3 5/8, just that 1/8 of an inch. And then we're going to add this to that 4-inch square that I already glued. There is going to be an extra, a little bit more of a border. I think that's your 1/4 inch there, or close to it. I always do better with wider borders myself. Okay, so there we go. And to finish off the front, I'm going to take a panel of 1 by 4 inch Lost Lagoon. I'm actually going to cut 2 because 1 goes on the inside. And then to the 1 by 4, I am going to add a panel of Designer Series paper. I think I just used a piece that came off one of the coordinating sheets. This is 7/8 of an inch wide by 3 7/8 of an inch tall. So very narrow border. Look at that beautiful paper on the back. The Thoughtful Journey is full of beautiful scenery, watercolor washes. Great, great packet of paper. We actually kept it around. It was from a previous catalog, and we liked it so much it stayed. All right, so once you have these adhered together, a little more adhesive. Oh, I'm getting close to the end. We'll see if I make it or not. I always seem to run out when I'm on camera. And this just gets put in that blank space on the edge of the card. Okay, so we're going to do the inside and then I'll finish off the front. So to the inside, we are going to start with the back. So don't forget, you do have this 1 by 4 panel that we're going to glue here, but we're going to hold off and I'll tell you why in a little bit. So we're going to take a 5 1/4 by 4 piece of Lost Lagoon. And then to this, we're going to add a 5 by 3 3/4 panel of white. And then for a little accent, I have a strip of Designer Series paper that is 5/8 of an inch wide by 3 3/4 of an inch tall. We're just going to add it as an accent over here. Now I do want to stamp my sentiment, and so I'm just going to kind of keep this for a little placeholder, more or less. I actually goofed up my Facebook Live earlier, so that's why I stamp before I glue. Now I'm using Gorgeous Grape for my accent color. So my inside sentiment, there we go. And then we'll come back to that in a minute. While I have the stamp pad out, for the front I have a Lost Lagoon die cut. I mentioned the wrong place that I got that the die cut, but then I corrected. My Shoulder Is Yours from that beautiful prairie grass set. Put that to the side. So now let's start building the inside and see how far my adhesive gets me. I am a glue fiend. Yep, almost, okay. Let me switch to my Stamp and Seal. This one, or Stamp and Seal Plus, that is, which is my favorite. Has a little bit of extra grip to it. Don't really need it for this particular project, but you can't ever go wrong with extra sticky adhesive. Sometimes it's so sticky it sticks to my hands. All right, so there are the 2 panels plus my accent strip of Designer Series paper. Now, I mentioned I was going to hold off on that 1x4. And what I've discovered in putting together some samples for you is that if I glued this down first, then inevitably I managed to glue something else on crooked. So if I start with a bigger panel, then I have a nice visual between the front panel and the inside panel. And I can line things up nice and neat in that open space. And if you don't like the open space, or I'm sorry, if you don't like the strip of paper in the open space, skip it. If you don't like the accent piece, skip it. All right, so the inside is done. Card is twisted back shut. See, you can see here, this one really wants to pop up. And that's okay. Once I put it in the envelope, it won't be going anywhere. But we just are going to finish with the die cut sentiment piece. So some dimensionals on the back of that. And then even though this is a sympathy card, I am going to add a little bit of understated bling. Sympathy cards don't have to be boring. I'm going to experiment. I think I like this down here. So to the front, I've got some opal rounds. Just going to add these to the card. Let's see. Just like that. And then one last bit of stamping to do, and that is on my envelope. So I always make sure my envelope is facing the right direction. And then I'm using that small grass stamp, the smallest of the 3 silhouettes from the set. And then my envelope is done. My card is done. I'm just putting my ink away really quick because I'm liable to drop something right in it. So there is our twist flap fun fold. And how different the card can look just with a different piece of Designer Series paper from the same pack. So I do have some other samples to show you. Now I did make a couple using other pieces from the same paper pack. These look a little more similar. And everything really is identical except just slightly different papers. Here's the card that inspired the design. Again, I'm not sure which demonstrator friend made it. Nice bright card. Fun to get in the mail, and I just added Designer Series paper to the envelope to coordinate. So great inspiration. And I know it's a little early yet because we're still in August, but I am having fun with some Halloween products that I just got. I do have to keep ahead for my craft fairs. So here's a fun Halloween card. This one was super simple. Now the sizing is a little bit different on this one. There is a 4-inch black, basic black square on the front, but I expanded the size of the panel. I skipped that second layer because I didn't want to cut off any of this fun print. So I only had to cut off a little bit of the top and sides. So this was super simple, layer of cardstock, layer of DSP, and this was a pre-cut or pre-stamped colored die cut. There's 2 sheets of these in this set. This is an online exclusive that is available. Then I added some fun foam stars. And what a quick and easy but unique Halloween card. And then I experimented with more of the pre-printed page. Again, 2 layers with this one, a little bit of bling, and a fun ribbon. Look at the shimmer on that ribbon. Isn't that great? So some fun, relatively easy Halloween cards ready to go. So thank you so much for tuning in and watching this video on the Twist Flap Fun Fold. I hope you enjoyed learning how to make it. If you haven't subscribed already to the channel, I'd love to have you here as a subscriber. You can click the notification bell and get a little ding each time a video goes live here on the page. You can also find me over on Facebook as The Faithful Stamper. I share more sales information there, incentives that I might have or the company might have. Sometimes I do contests where you just have to create a card and post a picture and you could be the lucky winner from a random draw. Lots of information to be shared over there, so I'd love to have you as part of that community if you're interested.